The I am said unto my owner, sit thou at my right hand till I make thy enemies thy footstool. The I am shall send the rod of thy strength out of Zion. Rule thou in the midst of thine enemies. Thy people shall be willing in the day of thy power, in the beauties of holiness. From the womb of the morning thou hast the dew of thy youth. The I am hath sworn and will not repent. Thou art a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. And the I am at thy right hand shall strike through kings in the day of his wrath. He shall judge among the heathen. He shall fill the places with dead bodies. He shall wound the heads over many countries, and he shall drink of the brook in the way. Therefore shall he lift up the head. Yes. Deliver me from the hands of evil spirits who have sway over the thoughts of men's hearts, and let them not lead me astray from thee, my God. Establish thou me and my seed forever, that we go not astray henceforth and forevermore. Jubilees chapter 12 and verse 20. Yes. We're going to say good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Those of you who are listening and viewing, we thank God for you, and we just give God the praise for all things, for he is worthy of all praise. Excuse me. Yes. Even in this scripture that we read, we have just read from Psalms 110 and the prayer of Abraham, Jubilees chapter 12 and verse 20. Yes, for those of you who want to go back and read it. Now, I want to get one thing straight before I keep going, because you have Christianity would say in the first verse, he says, the Lord said unto my Lord. Who is this? Who's talking? Who is his Lord? See, this is one thing you have to ask yourself. Who is talking? Who is this psalm by? God said unto his Lord. His Lord wasn't Jesus. Whoever the writer is, God said unto, or Yahweh, Yahuwah, said unto his, he didn't say no Shah, he didn't say no Jesus, he didn't say no Isus, he didn't say nothing like that. He's not talking about the Messiah or those who would say the word Messiah, because if you talk, Moses is a Messiah. There were many Messiahs before that time that you say that Jesus came, or your Yahweh Shai, your Yahusha, whoever. There were many Messiahs, people that actually delivered folks from their enemies. How are you a Messiah and nobody ever been delivered? Nobody ever rose from the dead as you said they should. I mean, this thing is not evident in this physical world. Either way, it's not evident. So therefore, we have to be careful in how we begin to address things and how we look at things. See, Christianity has a way of deceiving you. Now, this just didn't come by just haphazardness. This came by direct design to confuse you, to make you think, and to make you think that he wasn't even thinking about a savior back then. In other words, he was saying, sit down, be near me. Why? By obeying my statutes, ordinances, and commandments. And he said, he shall send a rod of strength, of thy strength out of Zion, to rule in the midst of the enemies. He's talking about the kings. It was a king, had to be. This had to be a king. Now I want you to do your due diligence and research. Who wrote the Psalms? What was his setting? Who were the people he was talking to? What was he talking about? The New Testament wasn't written then, so therefore you cannot attribute this to your Isus. Come on here, God's trying to deliver you from the blindness that has happened for most of Israel, to think that this Christianity thing is going to save you, which it is not. I'm not saying this because I'm hostile against the one you're talking about. It's just the fact truth is truth and deceit is deceit, and you got to expose both of them and help the person to see and judge which is deceit and which is truth. Yes. I call a buck, whether it's in the Old New Testament or whatever. I call it anyway. If you've been following me, you find out I've always questioned things. Question everything. Your soul depends on it. Now, we're in the book of Jasher. We're in the book of Jasher. I think we start with the 87th book. Trying to get this to come up. The 87th book, and we stopped at verse 6. The book of Jasher. And as you prepare, the book of Jasher 87 and 6 is where we stop. We're going to continue with 87 and 7. And also with a hand clap of praise, we thank God for those of you that have been with us since the beginning, and those of you that have been thereafter here and there's about. And we thank God for those of you who have just subscribed to follow. We give God the glory for you. Yes, we do. And we thank God for those of you that are about to subscribe or follow, giving God the praise in all things. Yes, calling those things that are not as though they are. Yes, yes, yes. We do thank God for you. Believe me. Yes, it's good to wait on God. It's good to follow God. Now that was a true saying that they said, attributed to Paul, says follow God as dear children. He wasn't talking about Isis. Apparently it was a message came out. Message. Follow God as dear children. God is not this pansy-nancy thing that you attribute to this Isis. Or God's love is without, should I say, has no strings attached to it. The string is the law, commandments, judgments, and ordinances. This is what God's love is about. It's not unconditional. That's a fool's love. A fool's love is unconditional. Because a fool will take advantage of that fool on that condition, even your own children and your spouse. Let's call a buck a buck. Let's give it, see, when you see this part about unconditional, you have to set a boundaries. Why do you set boundaries, rules, boundaries? Many of your children wound up in delinquent homes and stuff because they have went against the boundaries that you set for them. And this is what, when you go into a YDC, whether it's private or just public or of the government, abuse, boundaries are one of the two of the three things that cause a child to be delinquent. Yes, and abandonment. 3 A's, abuse, ABA, abuse, boundary, and abandonment. These are the things that cause a child to go delinquent. When you don't chastise that child, and this is after God's own way, they get a hold of your child. Either your child gonna go with somebody that he feels or she feels like family, or your child's gonna do something like rob, kill, steal, or destroy, just like the devil. And so therefore, if you do not enforce boundaries from a child, you talk about time out, you're going by the Mzungu way of doing things. Have you ever seen an African woman or Indian woman? I mean, in the ancient days, what they did to that child, they pull a switch off the tree and whap his butt. That's what they do. Or her butt. Oh, time out. This child stays in the corner and smiles. You tell a child what they're about to be punished for, number one. No, you set it out. What you're going to be punished for. Number two, what are you going to receive for this punishment, for this boundary that you crossed over? Now, you can put it in those areas, and it will straighten out a child. And stand behind it, regardless. Don't whoop them out of anger. No, don't do it out of anger. But you tell a child why and what are your boundaries while they're in your home, period. And as they grow, there are going to be other boundaries, and they're going to test those boundaries. And you're going to have to stand on it whether you feel like it or not. Because you're raising a citizen. You're raising, see, all they want to do, especially those of you of color, and you want to, or black, should I say, they want you to get away from these boundaries, abuses, and abandonments. They want you to do this thing. They want you to abuse your child. So they say, well, if you whoop them, you abuse them. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. It depends on how you... See, cops ain't stupid, number one. Cops ain't stupid. Unless he's a racist cop. They understand. In all things, a parent's going to have to discipline their child, and sometimes it's going to take that switch or that belt. You don't abuse a child. When you abuse a child, that means you done beat them to a pulp. But the fact is that you let that stuff go, it's going to take a hold of you. And this is what has happened to the children of Israel. God did not take away their abuse. He didn't take away their, should I say, he did not abandon them. But because they crossed the boundaries and they forsook the discipline they were given for those boundaries in the earlier times, to fear lest they should suffer the same thing over again. So they lost their fear of God through the manipulation of the devils or the Satans. Remember, there is no one Satan. There are many Satans. It's a group. It's not a one person. If you say Satan, you say Satan. When you say the word just one Satan, what you're saying is that he's equal to God. Not by far, God forbid. There's only one. There's only one angel. There's nobody omnipotent that can hear everything that goes on throughout the world, the spirit world and the physical world. That's God. He knows. He sees. No angel can do that. They have jobs to deal with the children of men by God's commandment and his orders. Because God does delegate his authority unto angels. Now, verse 1, Psalms 110. The author is talking about his king. He's talking about the God versus his king. That's what he's talking about. He's talking about God. I mean, and some of you, you know what I'm saying. Even those of you that's in those Islamic, Ya Allah, I am God, which means he's talking to Ya Allah, saying unto my owner. Because when you say Lord, you're talking about, you could be saying anything. Who is his Lord? Who is his king? Who is his owner? Who is in charge of him? That's what he's saying. To his sit at my right hand. That was not prophecy. That was just what he was saying. And Christianity has taken that to a great extent. Now we're in the book of Jasher, chapter 87. And Moses is getting ready to die now. Moses is getting ready to die. He's been told that because of what happened at the waters of Meribah. You cannot cross over the Jordan. Now see, they've been over the Jordan before, but this time they're going over the Jordan to possess the land. Okay? This time, God is going to see them following God, and the children of Ephraim have really learned a great lesson in that they will not go ahead of God anymore. Many of us need to learn that lesson. Stop going ahead just because you got a gift or whatever. You don't know enough. Some of you, you run with what you have and you think you got everything. You think you're wise. But still, you don't even understand the commandments, statutes, and ordinances of the Most High, even his law. You don't understand that because you're still following your Jesus. I don't care how much you prophesy or whatever, whether it come true or not. Nostradamus done the same thing. Many other prophets that did not follow God prophesied many things. Now, you can say Lord, you can even mean one of the devil gods that people have. The gods of other nations. When you say Lord, it's called a buck a buck. So he said the Lord here is to be rendered as God. But let us continue. But anyway, in the verse 7 of the 87th chapter of Jubilees. And Moses taught the children of Israel statutes and judgments and laws to do in the land, as the I am commanded. See, this says Lord also. We don't know who he's talking about, but we know the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is whom he followed, so we know who he's talking about by the historical account. And he taught them the way of the I am in his laws. And behold, they are written in the book of the law of God, which he gave to the children of Israel by the hand of Moses. Now we know he's talking about the I am. Now, he gave the children a book of the law. Now it's mentioned in Exodus and on to the 4 books that we have account of in the 66 books. There's an account of all this. So therefore, it says, and Moses finished commanding the children of Israel in verse 9, and the I am said unto him, saying, go up to the Mount Abarim, Mount Abarim, and die there. Who can say die? Is death a bad thing? Death may be a good thing for many people. I mean, because you're only going to live so long, and then you're going to be demised after that. So, and you done accumulated all this stuff, and you worried about who going to get it, and you going to die. Fools are known by their, should I say, foolishness. Yes. He went up to Mount Abarim and die there. That's what God said to him. And be gathered unto thy people as Aaron thy brother was gathered. So he's gathered unto, should I say, Seth. He's gathered unto even Adam, who's in that place also. He shall, I don't know whether he's going to see Adam or anything. And those that have lived the life according to commandments, statutes, and ordinance, not no followers of Christ, is not going to see that. Because you followed a lie. You followed something that was given because of Deuteronomy chapter 28. You did not seek God for the truth, and when the truth came to you, you rejected it because it was something that you just couldn't fathom. You couldn't get it in your head. It just didn't regulate. You find out you had a cloud over your mind. When God removes that cloud, you're going to see what he's talking about. And hopefully you're going to see, oh, this is why Mr. Clay said such and such a thing. You're going to see it, but very few of you are going to see it, period. Now, and Moses, verse 10, and Moses went up as the I am commanded him, and he died there in the land of Moab by the order of the I am in the 40th year from the Israelites going down from the land of Egypt. And the children of Israel wept for Moses in the plains of Moab for 30 days, and the days of weeping and mourning for Moses were completed. It wasn't a big deal. Moses accepted what he did. Moses wasn't so connected to this earth that he did not see that his death was going to come. You have those gathering riches and everything from their children. They're making others starve and squander in mud and dirt and holes in the ground to try to make a living each day to try to feed their own mouths. While this person here thinks that he's going to celebrate his riches that he's gotten ill of other people. Then you have those that cater to this person who have built themselves up from their business of stepping on the necks of others, and now they are the ones. I would take one government. I'll put it that way. I'm not going to mention it too much. The government that has taken its people and tried to raise the taxes to where the people cannot pay. They were howling. This happened in Israel also. They were howling. And the people decided it's time, we got to get rid of him. He's got to go. And apparently the government have been giving his soldiers and his policemen and everything a certain amount of money, and they have become greedy instead of them saying, I have to live among these people. Instead of them saying, these are my relatives, my friends, and you make me, the oath you tell me to take is not what you said I had to do. Sometimes even as an oath official, because you find out even the officials that you have taken an oath to protect and serve are not abiding by their own oaths. So that null and voids your own oath. Why are you going to sit up there and didn't have to deal with that? That's ludicrous. Let's continue. And it was after the death of Moses, the I am said to Joshua, or Oshe. We should say Oshe, and then we say AKA Joshua. son of Nun, saying, rise up and pass the Jordan to the land which I have passed to the land. Pass the Jordan to the land which I have given Israel. Thou shalt make the children of Israel to inherit the land. In other words, this was the land of Israel. If you've followed me, you'll find out that this was the land of Israel, the land of Shem, that the children of Canaan had came and occupied, and their own brethren told them, even Mizraim, Egypt, told them, you don't do that. It will not go well with you. Ain't nothing happening right now. They're still in the land. This is what they suffered with. Even that King Arad that we spoke of in the previous chapter. Now, here we go again. He says now, in verse 3, every place upon which the sole of your feet shall tread shall belong to you. From the wilderness of Lebanon unto the great river, the river of Pirath, shall be your boundary. And no man shall stand up against thee all the days of thy life. Now see, this is a promise God had made to Israel. No man, but there was a catch to it. Listen, as I was with Moses, so will I be with thee. Only be strong and of good courage to observe all the law which Moses commanded thee. Turn not from the way either to the right or the left, in order that thou mayest prosper in all that thou doest. There was a condition to that promise. And the same thing with you, Israel, today. The same thing with you and your endeavors, whether it be to subdue an enemy, or whether it be in business, or whether it be to even confront a government. If you abide by God's law, surely God's law, then he says, no man shall stand up against thee all the days of thy life. All the days of what? The life that you stand up and you practice those things which God have commanded you. That's what he's saying. Now, you can do these things and also be a man of business. You can be a man in politics. You can be a man in anything. Didn't they not do it in the past of Israel's, in Israel's past, or Judah's past, or Benjamin's past? They were men of many things, men of war. They were men of government. They were men. They were dealing with other governments, period. You just ain't confined to a church or a building or a pastor. No. This is where your chains are upon your mind and your chains are upon your body. To think that you're just going to say God, God, and do nothing. You're lazy. You're scared. You're a coward. You do those things with God given. You letting those who do not believe God get in there and they turn around, and now you got your black caucus. Huh? Message. But anyway, let's go. To the right or left. Now Joshua commanded verse 5. Let's go. And Joshua commanded the officers of Israel, saying, pass through the camp and command the people, saying, prepare yourselves for provisions, for in 3 days more you will pass the Jordan and possess the land. And the officers of the children of Israel did so, and they commanded the people, and they did all that Joshua had commanded. And Joshua sent 2 men to spy out the land of Jericho, and the men went and spied out of Jericho. And at the end of the 7 days they came to Joshua in the camp and said to him, that has delivered the whole land into our hands, and the inhabitants thereof are meted out with fear because of us. And it came to pass that after that Joshua rose up in the morning, and all Israel with him, and they journeyed from Shittim to Joshua, and all Israel with him passed the Jordan. And Joshua was 82 years old when he passed the Jordan with Israel. So age is just a number. He's still strong. And the people went up from Jordan on the 10th day of the first month, and they encamped in Gilgal at the eastern corner of Jericho. And the children of Israel kept the Passover in Gilgal. So Gilgal was the first place in the new land in the land that they were taking back. They were taking back the land which was given unto the descendants of Shem. That was really the allotment that God had in mind to give to the descendants of Abram, even Jacob. And the plains of Jericho on the 14th day of the month, as it is written in the law of Moses. Again, Passover. The Lamb lives among you. He gets settled. And this is what the heathen did to you. He let you live among them, let you be a house, whatever you will call it. He let you do that, and then he sit up there and he gets you, and he's tip this over, you know. He gets you in a place where he wants you, and then next thing you know, and then he put you in a hot box because you ain't do it like he told you to do it. And you die. You didn't live in those hot boxes. None of your ancestors did. You could not live in those things. They fried a black man. That's what they did. Fried a man. Because it's hot. Have you been in the South and yet get into a pine box in the ground alive? If they did take you out, it had to be within less than 10 hours, even less than that, because you would die. And they would lose revenue, really. They ain't that stupid, I don't think. Maybe they are. I don't know. He said a foolish nation. But either way. And the children of Israel kept the Passover. Verse 12. And the manna ceased at that time on the morrow of the Passover. And there was no more manna for the children of Israel. And they ate the produce of the land of Canaan. You know, God said, no, I'm cutting you off now. It's time. You just ain't going to just go out and get. No, you got to work for it now, baby. And it was that in the second month, on the first day of the month, that the I Am said to Oshay, rise up, a.k.a. Joshua. Behold, I have given Jericho into thy hand with all the people thereof, and all your fighting men shall go around the city once each day. Thus shall you do for 6 days. And this is a documented fact. You go look up Jericho, and you will see the ruins of Jericho, even to this day. Now, it's not in South Africa. I'm sorry, y'all. You too occupied with being recolonized. You got to get rid of that first before you come talk to me anyway. But either way, he says now, and the priest shall blow upon trumpets, and when you shall hear the sound of the trumpet, all the people shall give a great shouting, that the walls of the city shall fall down, and the people shall go up, every man against his opponent. It's a piece of cake, because God is with you. What else is going to happen? And Joshua did so according to all that the I Am commanded him. And on the seventh day, they went around the city 7 times, and the priest blew upon the trumpets. We've heard this story many times. And at the 7th round, Joshua said to the people, shout, for the I Am has delivered the whole city into our hands. They believed God. They didn't have to fight nobody. And on the city, all that it contained shall be accursed to the I Am. And keep yourselves from the accursed things, lest you make the camp of Israel accursed and trouble it. Now, I'm going to tell you something. Now, when you deal with the things of the heathen, the pork, the crustaceans, you go to these restaurants, you go to these grills, and they see. Now, that's where these non-Israel or these converts are going to stand in judgment toward many of the children of Israel, because you are eating according to the abominations, and that is eating things God forbade you. You disobeyed commandment. When you go to the restaurants and they're frying pork next to a beef, and they're frying shrimp and all kind of crustaceans that God says, I don't need, even if you touch it, you're going to go wash and you're going to be clean till the evening. There's a reason he says these things, that you might know to choose between good and evil. That's what it is. Now, come on now. You sit up there, oh, it ain't going to hurt. No, it's not going to hurt you right now. Just like Adam was not killed in the day that he ate of the fruit, but he died. He lived a long life to see. I'm sure it was a heart paining to him to see his offspring, thousands that came from his seed, his loins, that how they did God just because of what he did. And he died. He's seen the death of many of his offspring. He's seen them turn against each other like they're crazy. Now, he says now, but all the silver and gold and brass and iron shall be consecrated unto the I Am, and they shall come into the treasury of the I Am. Now that they kept. In other words, it's better to obey God. Obedience is better than sacrifice. We ain't talking about which you're going to obey, you're going to sacrifice, period, if you have it to sacrifice. But God knows throughout history that our sacrifices were hindered. And even to this day, they are. Now, with that, we're going to say peace.
Walk with me.